Hello, I'm Eva Kieffer. I'm William Kieffer's grandma. I was born in Berlin in 1933, the year Hitler came to power. My parents decided when I was one, it was uncomfortable living in Berlin because we were Jewish. We went to Switzerland. We lived in Switzerland for a year. Unfortunately, not being a Swiss native, you cannot work in Switzerland. So after a year, my father decided we're going to move to Italy. So we lived in Milan for 3 years, and it was very nice, until Mussolini and Hitler became chummy, and we began to realize that this was not a safe place for us to live. So my father sent my mother and I to Basel, Switzerland. My father worked hard trying to figure out where we could go, and nothing much was open for Jewish people to travel. It was fortunate that he had a younger brother who had a Belgian girlfriend. She was very sweet. She had a 5-year-old child, and she could travel to England freely over the British Channel. So she said she would take me over to England as her child. And I remember my mother saying to me, "Now, Eva, you've got to call her Mommy." And I remember calling her Mommy. It was hard for my mother to give me up. She didn't know she'd ever see me again. And, it was I was young, I didn't know. I went with a lady, and she took me over to England. Now, it was a very touchy thing, because the German patrol were patrolling the English Channel. And we found out later that the next ship that tried to smuggle Jewish couples across got caught, and those people were sent, most likely killed. England was very nice. Once you got to England, they accepted you. They didn't throw you back, in other words. However, as a German citizen, or as not being an English citizen, we had to go in front of a judge to be interviewed, to register as an alien, they called it. And the judge made a decision that we were German and that we should be interned because he felt we weren't safe. And that was difficult because the poor British didn't know what to do with all these people. They had the men in men's jails, the women in women's jails, and they decided they can't put children in a jail. I was 5 or 6 years old by then. So they put the children in an orphanage. And I remember I was in an orphanage for 3 months or 4 months. Then they made a decision. They would take the mothers and the children, and they put them on the Isle of Man. Anyway, they put the mothers and the children on this Isle of Man. They kept them in like little hotels. And the men they put on the other part of the island, and the men would come to visit once a month on a bus, and we would get to see my dad. After being there for a year, they decided they would put the moms and dads and the children together. They took a little strip, which was a resort strip of high hotels on the Isle of Man, and they put us together. We were there for 6 months. So a year and a half later, they let us go. They made a decision that we were Jewish, that we weren't Germans, and they let us go. We had rationing for food, 1 egg a week, 1 pound of meat a week, and some sugar. It was very tough. And we had, the Blitz was done. The Blitz was when the Germans came over almost every night to bomb London. After that, we had the V1s and the V2s. Those were bombs of airplanes without pilots. And they were geared to hit England. So it was a tough time, and we all made it through. And it was scary living in England during the war. It was hard. The bombs came every night. The houses were bombed, and many nights we went to the underground to sleep in the underground, because it was the subway, the tube as they call it, because it's very, very low below ground. It was hard. It was very hard. But we were very fortunate to get away from Hitler and whatever else went on in Europe that we all know about. So that was my story.